Have you ever wondered what it takes to lead global brand strategy for one of the world's most iconic companies, champion women's leadership across continents, and still have energy to run half marathons and hit the slopes with your family? Well, today's guest on Act to Impact is living proof that it can be done. Marie Corcoran is a powerhouse in every sense, a leader at Scotch-Brite and 3M, Mrs. Minnesota International 2024, and a dedicated mentor who's changing lives through her work with 3M and NextUp. But she's also a mom, a wife, and an inspiring community member in Blaine, Minnesota. I'm thrilled to be joined by Marie, who passed the crown to me as Mrs. Minnesota International 2025. And we're diving deep today into why mentorship matters and the impact it has for women and future leaders. You're listening to Act to Impact with Brandi DeVries. Through heartfelt stories of resilience, hope, and community, I share my personal experience as a longtime advocate and fundraiser for the national nonprofit Children's Cancer Research Fund. Invite pediatric cancer families to tell their stories and highlight individuals who use their unique gifts to create a positive impact. It's time to ignite action. So welcome to Act to Impact. I'm Brandi DeVries, and as you heard in the intro, today I'm chatting with my very special guest, Marie. But first, if you are new to the show, and you probably are because this is still a very new show, thank you for being here. Have you heard that in this show, we take action? Well, my guess is that you're probably here because you are an action taker. So before we dive into the episode, let's pause and please show me how you take action. Click the follow button and like this episode or even leave a comment. And that will help us reach more action takers like yourself. So let's take action and dive into the episode. All right, Marie, I am so excited to welcome you to Act to Impact.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Marie and I are connected because of pageantry. It's very special to have her on here, not only to hear about Mentorship Matters and the work that she's doing for women in Minnesota and globally with their mentorship program, but because of our connection that she is Mrs. Minnesota International 2024, which means she passed along her title and crown to me as Mrs. Minnesota International 2025. So I feel like we need to explain this a little bit because I'm already getting questions like, how does this work? Was there a pageant? But no, there used to be a pageant in Minnesota for that women can compete at. But in the last few years, there hasn't been since I think 2020 around the COVID era. So now how the process works is we each go through any woman in Minnesota who is interested in the title can reach out to the national director. And we go through an extensive interview process. And from those interviews, the national director selects who is going to represent Minnesota. And for 2025, I'm honored to be selected and follow Marie.
And I can't think of anyone better to carry the torch for Minnesota than Brandi. So I'm so excited.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So. But yeah, so I felt like we definitely needed to talk about that a little bit as I am preparing for Mrs. International, which will take place this year in Kingsport, Tennessee on July 19th, 2025. But we could talk about pageants all day, I think. And we'll probably talk about it a little bit. I think it'll come up later in the show. But because we need to hear more about Mentorship Matters and your platform and why it's so important and also the impact that you've been making, we got to get to the heart of the show. So we'll have to put the pageant stuff aside for right now. So, all right, let's just dive right into this. I feel like we can't talk about where you're at right now with mentorship without talking about where it started. So start by telling us who your first mentor was and how that mentor and that mentorship with that person shapes you into the person you are today.
Absolutely. So there's been many strong female leaders that have helped shape me throughout my career. But one that really stands out that was at a pivotal moment in my life was my boss at the time of my ad agency when I lived in New York City. That's the picture behind me. I was in New York City almost 20 years in my advertising career, building it there. And the boss at the time, she was a little intimidating. She was a strong female, very strong female. She was the CEO of the agency. So she had grown in her career when it wasn't as common to become a female CEO of an agency in New York City. And she led a huge team. We were working on Maybelline New York Cosmetics, Essie, L'Oreal on their big global campaigns. And she literally took me under her wing and helped give me opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise had. She was secretly moving the chess pieces behind the scenes for me, which I didn't really realize, honestly, until years later. And there was one moment in particular that really kind of stood out to me, which is she had started, it's called an ERG, so an employee resource group for the Interpublic group of companies called the Women's Leadership Forum.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that, because there might be people on here that aren't into the corporate jargon.
Yes,
because
corporate jargon.
Corporate world, which I used to be, am not anymore. So I was familiar with that term, but if you're not used to that, you're like, wait, what? So thank you for explaining
that. So she had started this women's leadership forum, again, before these ERNs were like a thing for big companies. And she wanted to ignite it. And she decided to nominate me to be the co-chair of the Women's Leadership Forum for Interpublic Group of Companies. At a time where I didn't actually think that I was ready to take on that big of a leadership role. I was kind of midpoint in my career, and I didn't really have the confidence that I do today that you gain through years and years of experience. But she thought that I could and really took a leap of faith in me. And it was the most pivotal, amazing moment in my life, because what I ended up doing was creating speed mentoring events, networking events, professional developments for the women of all of Interpublic group of companies, not just Gotham, but all agencies. So we're talking 600 plus women in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut coming together for these events multiple times a quarter. And for me, it gave me a spotlight that I hadn't had before and a leadership role that I hadn't had before. And it also sparked something in me, which was helping other women. So for me, that was the moment that I was like, this is my passion. This is my platform. This is the way I will give back, is through mentorship and helping other women succeed in business.
So you've really been doing this for 20 years.
For a long time. Yes.
Yes. That's amazing. Yes. I love that. I know mentors are so important. That's why I love your platform, because I believe in mentorship for sure. And
have you had any mentors in your life, career, otherwise, personal life?
Absolutely. And there are two that come to mind. And I tell you what, whether it's in pageants or work, or even sometimes just my personal life, or specifically working with other young people and trying to mentor them, both of them are like in my ear. I can like hear their voices and the things that they have said to me, and using those as much as I can. So one of the people, her name was Tracy Finneman. She actually passed away a couple of years ago from cancer. And I actually sent her a note not too long before she had passed away, just thanking her for all the mentorship and the belief in me that she had given, because I found myself giving the interns that I was leading at that time similar advice to what she had given me. But she was like the person that you want to be when you grow up. And she was in marketing. She was creative, but she was always challenging you and like pushing, constantly helping you to push yourself and to think differently about maybe the things that you were doing. But she was always one of those people that was checking in and like, okay, what's your barometer? Like, how are you feeling today? Like, where are you at on a scale from 1 to 10? Or, okay, I have this for you. I see that you're capable of doing this, but how do you feel about it? And just really having great conversations. And the second person was one of my college professors. And so Tracy was one of my first bosses. And then my college professor, Donna Stack, she is like the ultimate people connector. And I consider myself a people connector a lot because of what she has taught me about staying in touch with people and connecting with people. But she was one of my communications professors. And so even as I'm working on this podcast and like looking and digging back into my skills from college and things I learned from her as a mentor, and like we're actually in contact almost on a weekly, bi-weekly basis now through email. I mean, 15
Amazing.
years later or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, even working on this podcast, I'm like, okay, Donna, she would do this, or she would ask the question this way.
Yeah.
And so it's just like those people, they stay with you. And it's
Yes.
just amazing the profound impact that mentors can have on your life. So
100%. And I will tell you who I was speaking about, Sherry Barron, one of my first like female bosses. She's still in my life today. Like she is the first one to congratulate me on when I was named Mrs. Minnesota 2024, whether I'm going through a health journey, running. She's also a runner. Like she's always like the cheerleader and the champion. So there for me. And I think that's really important for women to have somebody in your life that can be that champion. And also when I was looking to leave agency side and go corporate side, that was a big change. I was like 40s and I was like, this is scary. This is a big change in my life. And I called her for advice. She was the person I called and she said, you are ready. This is a great move. Do it. So like, it's great to have that person in your corner that you can call and ask for advice because nobody has all the answers, but somebody else out there does. You know, it's like the lifeline you call when you need something.
Yeah. Okay, so you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but really go back to like a specific maybe conversation you had with her that was like your fireball moment, like that aha moment for when you knew that there was that fire and that spark inside you that made you want to make an impact then with 3M and their global mentorship program and NextUp. And as you continue to build out Mentorship Matters, like, I mean, you knew 20 years ago with her that you wanted that to be, but really most of this more started when you moved back to the Twin Cities and started working with 3M.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a sort of an interim step. So when I first moved back, it was 8 years ago. It's hard to believe it's already been 8 years, but 8 years ago, I moved from New York to Minneapolis to be closer to family once I was married. And that's another story for another day. It took me a while to find the husband. But once we had children, decided to move back to be closer to our families. And I had to resign from my job at Gotham and doing the Women's Leadership Forum. At this point, I was asked actually to lead it globally, which was a huge honor. And I had to say no because I was leaving New York. And I knew that I had to find something to replace that fire in my belly. I knew that I had to find another women's leadership opportunity in the Twin Cities. And I found very, very quickly this group called the Minneapolis Mad Women, which is for creative women in the Twin Cities. And very similar. It's a women's leadership group supporting other women in their careers in advertising and creative fields. And I actually helped them start their first ever mentorship program from the ground up. So I was the one who structured the program, found the mentors, basically knocked on doors, made connections, made phone calls, said, please, will you be a mentor? There's a lot of amazing female leaders in advertising in the Twin Cities. So they said yes. And it was fantastic. We started with 100 people year one. It's now in its 8th year of operation. So I helped start that. I still serve as a mentor in that organization today. And then when I moved into to corporate and to 3M, yes, I did raise my hand and said I would love to lead leadership for the consumer business group of 3M. And so that's a global program. That's truly global. We have participants in Latin America, in Europe, in Asia. And we have served almost 500 people this past year. It's been phenomenal. And the support that I've gotten from 3M leadership has been phenomenal. I was actually awarded a Culture Catalyst Award for promoting diversity and inclusion through that program. So it's just been really fantastic. But I will say, like, having the little nudge of like, okay, this is now my platform and I'm going to up it a notch. I'm going to like continue to like up the game. It gave me the confidence to go for it and say, I want to do this. And it has been phenomenal. And just the outpouring of support and praise that I've gotten from participants shows me how critical it is for companies and organizations to champion mentorship. It's needed. It is 100% needed.
So if there is somebody listening who is interested in mentorship and their place of business or where they work, they don't have a program, but they want to maybe start their own, or they want to join yours, like what are some of your recommendations for them to get started and bring something to their boss and say, I want to start this, or I think that our organization should be part of NextUp Twin Cities or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my nonprofit partner is NextUp, and it's nextupisnow.org, and they are a national nonprofit that is all about advancing women in business. That is their mission, to advance women in business. And they are affiliated and associated with many, many, many major corporations like General Mills, Best Buy, Target, United Health Group. There are so many companies involved, Unilever, Procter and Gamble, like big, big companies. If you're not part of one of those companies that's already aligned with NextUp, anyone can join. You can be an individual member. And also in the Twin Cities, if you're in the Minnesota area, you can actually join NextUp mentorship program for free and try it out. And we will be recruiting in the next couple of months. But nextupisnow.org, and you can find out more about that. And it's a great way to check it out and see if it's for you. But it's a fantastic program that offers development opportunities, leadership events, summits, conferences, and this mentorship program. So that is one way to get involved. The other one is I'm working with a company called Mentium in the Twin Cities. They're based in the Twin Cities, but they are women-founded, women-led, women-owned, and they've been around for 20 plus years, and they help companies start their own mentorship programs as well. So they're also a terrific resource if you're looking to do it and you're not sure how to start. I guess the third option is you can reach out to me because I've done it from the ground up and I can help you get started. We have a whole presentation on best practices, on how to be a good mentor, how to be a good mentee, and we can go into more of that a little bit later. But there are definitely ways to set yourself up for success for this type of program. And then also just be a mentor, be a friend, like a friend. Like if somebody is reaching out to you and asking for help, you can do it through a non-formal relationship as well.
Absolutely. I feel like one of the best ways is that I've been connected to some wonderful people that have served as resources for me is just through other connections, like hearing like, okay, I have this challenge and I really wish I could talk to somebody who knows about that. And people are more than willing it seems like, to say, hey, I know somebody who has experience in that. You should talk to them. Let me connect you. So I feel like people are always willing to help out. So.
Yes, I feel a bit like my other superpower is super connector. I'm always like, you should meet this person and this person and this person. And it's all, in the end of the day, it's about like helping other women, right? Yeah. So yes, lots of connections happening. And then I also take the meetings. I have several meetings lined up this week with women that I've never met that have reached out and just, they're looking for advice. I recently had a new mom. Actually, she was introduced to me through Sherry, my mentor, and said, she's going through a transition at work. She's a new mom. She's looking at maybe getting promoted, maybe taking a new job. She's not sure what to do. She knows that you've been through it. Do you think you could talk to her? And I'm like, absolutely, 100%. Let's get on the phone and talk and see how I can help you.
Yeah. So speaking of mentees, has there ever been a mentee that really stands out to you that that you had like a significant impact on their life, on their journey, and their career, or just personal life? And what was that?
Yeah, I had two young women that I helped this year as their mentor, and both were kind of going through different things. So in the programs, we often say it's mentee led. So what are your objectives, goals? What do you want to work through? And then we're here to help you work through those things. One, I think, had reached a little bit of a point in her job where she just wasn't sure if she wanted to continue in this role. She wasn't sure she saw promotion opportunities. And it was about kind of helping her through some management situations. She was working for a family company and she was going through some challenges there, and just giving her advice in her day-to-day career. But then once she decided, I think I'm maybe ready to move on, I helped her with a resume. I sharpened up her resume. I helped her with interview skills. She was going for a project management job in agency life. And I was like, I can 100% help you there. Let's talk through some potential questions that you're going to get in that interview. And just working through and being there for her. If she has something else coming up in terms of an opportunity, let's talk through it. Really just guiding her through this next step in her career. And right now she actually ultimately decided to leave that company because it wasn't serving her in the way that it used to serve her. And we're constantly in touch, checking in. How's it going? How's the job hunt? How else can I help you? She just recently asked for a letter of recommendation. So those kind of things. It's just really like whatever that mentee is going through and how I can help them. I would say an earlier one several years ago, she was also sort of at a transitional point in her life. She was getting married. She was looking for a new home. I had just purchased a new home. I gave her my realtor. She ended up using the realtor and getting a new home. So like, you never know. Some of them are professional, some of them are personal, but it's really just, being another resource for women. And I've gone through things, with 25 years in my career that they're coming up and maybe going through something similar. So it's really being an active listener. And it's a relationship. It really is.
Yep, for sure. All right. So what is your big dream or your plan that you have for your involvement with Up Next, Twin Cities, or Mentorship program, or the Mentorship Matters program?
So I have been wanting to put on a big marquee event for a while, and I've been planning it and sort of letting the chips sort of fall into place, and it is now happening. So January is National Mentorship Month, and in this January we will be kicking off our NextUp Twin Cities program, and doing that with a big event that's going to be happening at the General Mills headquarters on January 30th. And we are going to be featuring a keynote speaker. Her name is Allison Fitzgerald, and she's PhD. She is a professor at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And she just wrote a book called Likeable Badass, How Women Get the Success They Deserve. And she's phenomenal. She actually spoke at the NextUp Summit that I attended in Chicago a month ago, but not everybody gets to attend that event. So we're bringing her to the Twin Cities. I'm so excited. And it's going to be an event open to everyone, anyone who wants to come sign up. nextupisnow.org. And she is just a brilliant, brilliant woman about helping you have that balance between warmth and assertiveness to get what you want in your career and in life.
That sounds
so
really,
I'm excited to put that on.
Really interesting. Yeah. Well, congrats on that big event. I mean, and that's never taken place, an event like this. That's congratulations.
Thank you.
That's very exciting.
Like I said, always up in the ante. Like, what can I do next? That's even bigger and better and more fun and more inspiring and helping women.
Yeah, I love that. That prompted a question that I lost it. I should have almost like a piece of paper here. I'm like, okay, I need to jot down some notes because I think that I'm going to remember it. And then when I get to it, I'm like,
we can come back to it.
We can come back if I think about it before our conversation is over. But all right. Well, Marie, I think that you gave us all a lot of really great information about what it means to be a mentor, how you can get involved with mentorship as a mentor or a mentee. And because really there's no criteria, right? Like we all have different shared experiences or different experiences that can help somebody else out. And like you said, it's about active listening and for the mentee and then partnering them up with somebody that can help them because they've probably gone through something very similar. So,
Yes. My biggest, I think, advice out there is that I often see people at a certain point in their career that they don't think that they're qualified to be a mentor. And that's just not true. Like if you have even 5 years of experience, you're qualified to be a mentor of maybe somebody just starting their career. If you have 10 years experience, you're probably qualified to mentor somebody 0 to 5 years in their career. So I do highly suggest that if you have an opportunity, be a mentor, sign up to be a mentor. We are always lacking mentors. A lot of people want to be a mentee, which I understand, but you can do both. You can be both. So I definitely highly suggest that we all have experiences that we can share. And there's really no like qualifications other than being an active listener and helping someone in their journey. So I definitely encourage people to give it a shot if they haven't been a mentor before.
Yeah. Take action, right? Just do it. So that's also why I feel like this really resonated with the Act to Impact, because Act to Impact is about becoming aware of the gifts and resources that you have as an individual and how you can connect them with an organization, or in this case, a person, and help a person out. But then at the end of the day, it's just about taking action, like taking that step, that first step to say, okay, I have these gifts and resources. I have this 10 years of experience. I am ready to share this with somebody. I want 100%. Somebody to learn from my failures or from my successes. And so then actively seeking an organization like NextUp where you can mentor, or within your place of employment with those ERG groups or a women's leadership network or something like that. So yeah, I love how this just really fits right into that. So I hope that if there are people listening that have that fire like you did to help other women, that they hear this, they seek you out or NextUp, and they just take action and get involved because
Absolutely.
that's what we
Absolutely.
want.
Because we can
So
all benefit by having a mentor in our lives.
absolutely. I totally agree. So, all right, Marie, in closing, if people want to find out more information, you've mentioned it a couple times, but if they want more information on NextUp Twin Cities, or how can they connect with you if they want to reach out to you as well?
Yes. Well, they can reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or LinkedIn. It's at Marie Corcoran or Marie Corcoran 77 on TikTok. And then also nextupisnow.org is the great organization that you can find out more. And even if you're listening to this from outside the Twin Cities, NextUp, like I said, is national, and they have chapters in 22 regions across the US. So you can for sure get connected that way. And they also have a virtual mentorship program. And then I think just Mentium is another company that I suggested. If you're looking to start a program in your corporation or your company and you don't have one today, they're also a great resource. So definitely encourage everyone out there to look into that, get involved. I find it personally super fulfilling. It fills my cup, it fills my bucket day in and day out. And I definitely recommend being a mentor or mentee.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Marie, for being on Act to Impact today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Act to Impact with Brandi DeVries. If this show ignited your fire and inspired you to take action to make an impact, please share this episode with a friend, leave a 5-star review, or write a review to let others know how the show impacted you. I can't wait to see the action you are taking to make an impact, and I'd love for you to share that with our community. Go ahead and tag me on social media as you are out making an impact in the world. Do you have a story to share and want to be a guest on Act to Impact? I'd love to connect with you.